I need your help with a question about a power supply. FTDX10 or FT710? Which one should you buy? Is the FT891's power output not what it should be? And we got to choose between a K6ARK 9-to-1 antenna or a BNC binding post homebrew antenna, this time on Mailbag Monday. What is happening, you sexy ham radio tube viewers? And when I say sexy ham radio tube viewers, I'm talking to the 2.9% of my audience that is female, because I have been to a lot of ham radio fests and I've seen you guys. I'm only kidding. Guys, my name is Mike, K8MRD. If you have amateur radio questions for me, shoot me an email, k8mrd@icloud.com. I would love to hear from you. We got 4 things to talk about, so let's dive right in. This first viewer needs our help. He says, hello, Mike. Love the content on the channel. Subscribe. Thank you very much. I believe you have the MFJ 4230 DMP power supply. I do. It is on my bench. That is my bench power supply. He says, mine is usually displaying 88.8 volts above 88.8 amps, regardless of the voltage setting or the current draw. Of course, support emails to MFJ bounce. I was wondering if you've heard of this fault or anyone in your audience, that's you guys, knows what to do to clear this issue. So, yeah, I would imagine the emails to MFJ are going to bounce. They're kind of done. I'm not sure even if they're still open or what they're doing, but I'm sure support is not on their list of priorities. I don't have the foggiest idea. I'm going to guess it's broken. But guys, we're asking you, do any of you have a solution, or have you encountered this problem? What did you do to rectify it other than just throw it in the garbage? Leave a comment down below for this gentleman. I've already emailed him, told him I was going to ask this question on this episode, so he'll be looking out for it. And we appreciate any and all help you may have. Now that our public service announcement is out of the way, we've got a new ham with a question. He says, I'm a relatively new ham and loving the hobby so far. That is fantastic. Welcome to the hobby. So therefore, I'm looking to upgrade to general. Yes. You're gonna love it, dude. It's it's night and day, man. And start getting on HF. I've been looking at HF base radios and narrowed it down to 2. I'm looking at either the FTDX10 or the 710, because I've heard they have some of the best receivers and transmitters currently on the market. That is a true thing. Which do you think is better? I'm just looking for something I can get on the air and rag chew with currently. I'm not really sure where I stand with contesting yet, but would like to keep my options open. I'm not currently looking to do SOTA or POTA yet either, just because I'd like to see what Yaesu brings to the table in terms of a QRP rig. I've got my reservation for that FX5, whatever the heck it is. I can't wait to see that in Orlando. Hope this info helps in answering my question. Looking forward to hearing from you, and thanks for the videos. So I can only go by my limited experience with both of those radios. I do not own them. I have used both of them, and I can tell you, obviously, price is not his concern because he's looking at both, so we're going to disregard any price things. But the FTDX10 is more money. I think it's about $1,400 versus about a little under $1,000 for the 710. When I first used the FTDX10, I believe I was using Jason's from Ham Radio 2.0 a few years ago at some field day event or something. And coming from my 7300 is my main portable radio, and that's like, I love it. But when I used the FTDX10, played around with the menus, like the menu system is way better than previous Yaesus. They've really done a better job. It's a lot easier to navigate the things that you would want to do. And the same thing with the 710. The menus are very similar, if not exact. And I've also used the 710 for the during the solar eclipse a couple years ago. A friend of mine had a new 710, and I was helping her set it up. And I played with that for a good few hours. And there's like no scientific basis to what I'm about to say at all. This is just an opinion. But I distinctly remember when using the FTDX10, there was a bit of a wow factor. I was really, really impressed with it. The receiver quality was great. The thing that stood out to me the most was just how quiet the radio is. Just sitting there listening. I mean, Yaesu has always done a fantastic job with their noise reduction, but this is just on a whole other level. And just reading some of the descriptions, I went to Gigaparts and just looked up both of the radios and kind of read the features. The FTDX 10's ability to really isolate signals and kind of just eliminate adjacent signals is really what stands out from the FTDX 10 versus the 710. I was really wowed by the FTDX 10. The 710 is like its little brother. It doesn't have quite the same features, quite the same receive sensitivity in terms of being able to eliminate those other frequencies. From what I've read, I don't think the waterfall on the 710 is quite as nice. And I'm not talking about that 3D display. I'm talking about the actual waterfall. I think the FTDX 10 actually kind of listens to everything and just flows it down the waterfall, much like ICOM has been doing since the 7300 came out, where the FT710, and I could be mistaken here, but I think the FT710 just scans the frequency or the bandwidth very, very fast, kind of like an old CRT television, and kind of draws it on the display. So it might not be as fluid of a visual experience for the waterfall on the 710 versus the FTDX 10. Other than, I mean, they're both fantastic radios. You're not going to go wrong with either one. In my humble opinion, I would go with the FTDX 10. What say you guys? Leave your comments. Any of you guys have experience with both of these radios? Let us know what you think of them. Maybe provide some other kind of feedback with more user experience than I have. But that 710, the FTDX 10, that's a sexy radio. That's a very sexy radio. So thanks for writing in. Welcome to the hobby, and I hope you make the right decision. Ooh. Next, we got a question about the FT891. This gentleman says, "Good morning, Mike." It's 1:30 when I'm filming this, so good afternoon to you. He says, "I have a question about the FT891. Maybe you can answer or lead myself in the right direction. I've been doing a lot of QRP lately and building several antennas for the activity, running the radio at only 5 or 10 watts. Yeah, it's been a little more of a challenge to make contacts at these levels, but I thoroughly enjoy it. That's what QRP masochists get in it for." I was told today by a member of our radio club yesterday that when I turned... What the hell is he saying? I was told today by a member of our radio club yesterday that when I turned down the radio to 5 watts SSB HF, the FT891 has a cap limiter and is still pushing 30 to 35 watts minimum. He said it's not a true 5 or 10 watts. I don't have a meter to test this theory. I've tested it using whatever this link is. From what I've heard, it sounds like the radio at 5 watts is 5 watts. Have you ever heard anyone say this about this radio? Never. And I've had this 891 for years. Never heard that. And I've done QRP with this radio. Like all my early videos are like QRP with the 891. So this is news to me. I would be disappointed if it's true and don't want to have to buy a true QRP radio because someone thinks they know what they are talking about. So here's a good thing to mention. Don't just blindly listen to people. There's a lot of people out there with opinions or wrong information. Please do your own research or ask me, because I have a show called Mailbag Monday where we answer these questions, and we're fixing to test this. What did he say? Don't know if you have tested this theory in one of your videos. I have not. Thanks for all your videos. You are a great asset to the hobby. Keep the videos coming. Thank you. Well, thank you. And would you believe that I just so happened to take my 891 out of my car so we can test this malarkey of a claim? Let's go maybe to this camera right here, and then if I adjust it so the angle is actually right, we can see we have a Yaesu 891 and we have a beautiful MFJ 849 digital SWR watt meter. So let's see here. We're going to long press and go into the deep F menu. We can see I have my HF SSB power set to 5 watts. So let's get out of here and make sure we're on a clear frequency. And let's just go ahead and give it a good whistle. That ain't no 30 watts. I don't know how well this watt meter is at picking up like really low voltage or wattage rather, but that looks pretty QRP to me. And also notice the power meter. Audio. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, KNMRD. Check 2, sibilance. I mean, it looks like it's putting a little under 5 watts. So let's go to 10 watts here. And we saw 10 watts there. Now let's, just for giggles, I have a CW key hooked up here. So we're on 50 watts power there. And there we can see 53 watts, okay? Let's turn down our HF power to 5 watts. And I'll key up. And there's 4.25 watts. So I'm going to say myth busted. Yes, it is actually 5 watts when you're on 5 watts. And yes, it's actually 10 watts when you're on 10 watts. And let's just, for giggles, go to, I don't know how to use this radio. Let's just go all the way up to 100 watts. Now, to be fair, I have a really crappy power cable plugged into here, so I don't think I'm getting quite the voltage in there. But yeah, it's doing what it's doing, and that guy is mistaken. So there you go. There's your answer, and have fun with the QRP. It's a lot of fun. Love the 891. I just bought another one. It's sitting in that Gigaparts box right there that I still haven't unboxed. Fantastic radio. Lastly, we have a guy struggling with the ultimate question of which antenna. This viewer writes, "Oh dear Poda God. Yes, my son. I have a question about building a super portable QRP random wire antenna. I plan on using this antenna with either my Xiegu 5105 or 6100, as they both have tuners built in to deploy with only a radio, mic, and antenna with a BNC male connection directly to the radio, no coax to carry." Isn't that awesome? I have 2 antennas in mind. The first is the K6 ARK 9-to-1 Unun, and the second is a homebrew that is like the Chameleon Cha Soda AZ1 sold by DX Engineering. I have one of Adam's kits along with all the parts to make a very close remake of the Chameleon. What I don't have is time to build and test both antennas, i.e. I'm the type of sad ham that works a full-time job and also runs a small business with my wife, very nice, that takes too much time, thus limiting my time to get on the air, thus being a sad ham. That does not make you a sad ham. You are not a sad ham. So any help will be greatly appreciated. My question is, what is the advantage over using a 9-to-1 over no coil for an ultra-portable random wire antenna? So I just so happen to have the K6 ARK 9-to-1 antenna in question, and it is fantastic, and it works wonderfully. I did a video 4 years ago called the Coronavirus Special, where I used this antenna with my X5105, and it worked fantastically. And this antenna to this day lives with my X5105. It's fantastic. That is the BNC connector. It's a BNC to binding post or banana clip, whatever you want to call them. No transformer, no nothing. The K6 ARK is going to have a toroid there where you're wrapping 3 magnet wires around it and doing some magic and stuff to transform the impedance. Now, let's take a look at this Chameleon antenna really quick, because this shocked the hell out of me. It is this right here. $146.99 for a BNC connector that you can get 2 of these for $7 on Amazon, 42 feet of radiating wire, and 8 feet of counterpoise wire, and a bongo tie that probably costs $1, and 2 little tent stakes that probably cost 50 cents at Walmart, And if we go down here, you can see you got a BNC connector, 42 feet of wire, 8-foot counterpoise. You get 40 feet of micro paracord that you can buy like 100 feet of that for about maybe $10 on Amazon. And a line winder that you could 3D print or get for a couple dollars. Like, there is no way in hell anyone should pay $146 for this. Because if you build this with all parts you can buy on Amazon, if you go to amateurradiosupplies.com, go to antennas components, go to antenna wire. You can see this PolyStealth 26 gauge wire for a 200-foot run is $50. You can also buy this by the foot from these guys. 26 gauge PolyStealth wire is 25 cents a foot. So you can literally build that $147 antenna for about $30. Now, your question is, what's the difference or the advantage of using a 9-to-1 over no coil for an ultra portable random wire? Now, I'm just speculating here. We all know how much we love to do that. But the K6ARK 9-to-1, because it has this toroid, this is already doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you in terms of impedance matching. It's bringing a really high impedance down to, I forget what the ohms are. Let's just say 500. I'm totally making up a number. But something a lot more manageable for your tuner to use versus when you just put a wire on one of these binding posts. There's no transformer. You are 100% relying on the internal tuner of the X5105 or the 6100 that you have. But I am not one to leave well enough alone, and I've never, to my recollection, have just put a wire in one of these and strung it up and saw how well it tuned and how well it got on the air. So the next time you see me, which will be in about one frame, we're going to be at Huntsville State Park doing exactly that. And just like that, in under 5 minutes, we have that chameleon antenna built. And when I say under 5 minutes, I mean by putting all the crap on the picnic bench, taking everything out of the bag, taking that stake, putting it in the ground, attaching the tape measure and the wire, rolling out 42 feet of wire over there for the radiating element, and cutting 8 feet of wire for the counterpoise wire. Under 5 minutes, and because I'm using this 26 gauge wire from Soda Beams, this costs like $11 and change, plus like $17 shipping from the UK. So $30, you get a 100-meter roll of 26 gauge wire from Soda Beams. So that's what I use as an alternative to PolyStealth. I actually use this a lot more than PolyStealth. Now the $1,000,000 question, how well is something like this gonna work? All right, so we've got it hooked up to the X5105 there, you can see. As far as tuning, 160 and 80 meters, not gonna happen, but from 60 meters up, I think we'll be good. So there's the SWRN 60, there's 40, tune that up, 2-to-1, 30, 2-to-1, 20. It's not so happy on 20, is it? That's a little better. Yeah, still about 2-to-1. Try 17. It's kind of looking like 2-to-1 on all these bands, isn't it? Well, that's not happy. I'm kind of playing with the counterpoise wire here a little bit. Decent match. 12. Oh, come on. It's finicky. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Move the counterpoise wire a little bit. I mean, that does affect it to some degree. Yeah, that's just not really happy on 12. And let's try 10. Yeah.
2-1. So kind of 2-1 on all the bands that it works, and doesn't look like 12 works. Now we've got the K6 ARK 9-1 on here, and I believe the radiating element is 1 foot longer, so 41 feet, and the counterpoise wire is also longer. I believe it is 17 feet if I know Adam well enough, because he's the one that made this antenna for me. So let's try 160. No dice there. Oh, look at that. We got a match on 80. Not a very good one, but we got one. Not possible with the BNC antenna. 60. 2.5 to 1 or so. Let's tune that again. Yeah, that's about what we're getting on 60. Let's do 40. That's still that same kind of 2 to 1. 30. A little bit better than 2 to 1. 20. Huh. Yeah, not loving 20. Move the counterpoise a little bit. Interesting. Try one more time. A little over 2 to 1. That's interesting. That's weird that 20 is kind of a weird band. Yeah, about 2 to 1. 17. Barely even tuned it. That's good. 15. 2 to 1. Yeah, still not liking 12. That's interesting. No dice on 12. Let's check 10. Boy, that power's freaking out, isn't it? Huh. Yeah, about 2 to 1, but that power is weird. Interesting. So that's what we get for speculating. I would have thought the 9-1 would have tuned up a lot better from what I said earlier, thinking the 9-1 would just transform that impedance better. The 5105 didn't really seem to care, other than we gained 60 meters with the 9-1. But yeah, so there you go. There's your answer. 5 minutes, you got an antenna that will work. There's like a QSO party going on today, and the bands are flooded with POTA because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. I had every intention of getting on the air, trying a bunch of different bands, making some contacts so I could show a pretty map and all out where I got out, but I just didn't feel like listening to this and having to fight with all that, so I'm gonna leave it up to you to get out on the air. Good news is it only takes 5 minutes. Try it out, get on the air. I had no problem hearing people. It definitely receives, so I suspect it will transmit just the same. I mean, if I can load up a shopping cart antenna with a G90 and make a contact, I suspect 42 feet of wire and an 8-foot counterpoise will do exponentially better than that. So that is my answer. And guys, if you have questions for me, shoot me an email, k8mrd@icloud.com. Until next time, we will see you again on an episode of Ham Radio Tube 73, y'all.